Hi, my name is Bruno Sade from brunosade.com, and today I want to talk about a concept that's often talked about in EFT, which is the metaphor of the tabletop and the table legs. This is a concept or a metaphor that helps us distinguish between tapping globally or in a very general way versus tapping in a more specific way. Why don't we want to make sure that we tap in a specific way? Basically, the reason being is that if we try to tap in a too general or too global kind of way, it's like we are trying to bite more than EFT can chew in just one bite. So, for example, if we were to say something like, even though I have anger issues, I accept myself, it's not usually the most effective way to go about doing it. One key question in EFT that we can ask ourselves is, how can we break this issue down into its smaller parts? And in EFT, these smaller parts are usually emotionally charged specific events. Whether we are talking about recent memories or older memories, or even future anticipated events that, even though they haven't happened yet, they hold the energy of the issue. So a tabletop is basically any kind of problem or issue that our clients come to us with for us to help them with. And the table legs are those emotionally charged specific events that are helping keep that issue in place or that act as supporting evidence for that issue. This is because a tabletop can be, for example, something like anger issues, my sadness, a physical symptom, or actually the emotional components of a physical symptom. It can be a habit that we'd like to change, such as procrastination. It can be a fear or a phobia, but it can also be a limiting belief, because a belief is a generalization, such as all men are bad, all women are bad, I am not good enough, I am not smart enough. They are generalizations based on particular incidents that might have happened, and the mind tends to generalize them into this sort of I'm always like this, I'm never like that. That's why we can consider it a tabletop. Now, if we think about precisely the idea of a limiting belief as a tabletop, let's take the example of I'm not smart enough. A useful question to come up with these table legs that are supporting this tabletop in place is, where did I learn that I'm not smart enough? Or how do I know it to be true that I'm not smart enough? And then these events, these memories, which are usually emotionally charged memories, are what help keep this tabletop in place. And if we just try to tap on the tabletop alone, such as saying, even though I believe that I'm not smart enough, this usually won't be very effective, because it's kind of like we're just trying to collapse the table. We're just trying to collapse it by banging on it with our fists, as opposed to using like an axe to remove the table legs. So let's look at a graphic representation of what I'm talking about. Let's say that, as you can see, this tabletop says I'm not smart enough, and it's supported by a number of legs. Here, as a depiction of a table, there's only 4 legs, but in reality there are multiple legs, more than 4 different times, that support or act as evidence of this belief being true, or that can be ways that this belief is showing up in our lives nowadays. So we can see, for example, one of the table legs might be the time when I was 9 years old and I was the only kid in my class to fail the exam. Or it can be last week when my teenage son told me, "You're not very smart, are you?" So why do we want to tap on these events? Because if we were to just think about this belief from a purely cognitive or rational point of view, we might be able to logically understand that just because we were the only kid to fail that exam that one time, or just because my teenage son told me, "You are not very smart, are you?" that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not smart enough, right? But the thing is the emotional charge around these events what helps keep this belief glued to our mind. So if we can diminish or release the emotional charge around the different aspects of each of these events, each of these table legs, then the belief will feel less and less true. So each of these table legs probably has several aspects to it. For example, in this event, the time when I was 9 years old and I was the only one to fail the exam, when I think about how do I feel about it now, thinking about this event, I might feel embarrassed as I remember the other kids laughing at me. Or I might feel really sad as I remember the look of disappointment in my teacher's face. So these are different aspects that all need to be addressed, or actually sometimes by just addressing a few of these aspects or even some of these different table legs of events, the generalization effect kicks in, and then we don't need to tap on absolutely every single aspect, every single table leg supporting the belief. So basically, a tabletop is like a general issue, and one of the skills that we want to develop practicing EFT is how to go from the tabletop general issue to a specific time and place or a specific sort of movie or picture, something that we can look at or watch or hear that shows that general issue or belief at play, or even an aspect of that belief at play. So, for example, if the issue is procrastination, and it might be like procrastination on promoting my business, then maybe one of the table legs might be a future event, imagining something that could go wrong while I'm trying to promote my business. For example, imagining that someone criticizes the article I wrote trying to promote my business. So if I tap on that future event and how it makes me feel, chances are that then doing that task that I was procrastinating on is going to feel safer, and therefore it's going to be easier to carry out. If the tabletop is a phobia or a fear of flying, then perhaps a table leg could be remembering when I was a kid and I watched on TV the news showing a terrible air crash. And therefore, that's a specific event that's supporting or that's keeping this fear in place. If the tabletop is a physical symptom or a pain or something like that, or let's say emotional components of a physical symptom or pain, then maybe one of the table legs could be remembering a conversation with the doctor who told me I'm going to have this condition forever and it's only going to get worse. And when I think about that, it makes me feel really hopeless. It makes me feel really sad. So tapping on those emotions can help the nervous system and the body relax a bit more or feel less tight or less constricted about the issue, which can be helpful in terms of managing that pain or that symptom. Another table leg could be the incident where I injured my leg while I was playing a sport, and therefore that is a specific event, an emotionally charged specific event that's keeping that tabletop physical symptom in place. Usually when it's an injury or an accident or something where the body was physically harmed or was somewhat in danger, those kind of memories are best worked with an EFT practitioner as a way to keep ourselves safe. Then let's say that the tabletop is my anger issues. So then a table leg could be one of the current day triggers that makes me so angry. So imagining myself or remembering a recent time when I was driving and someone else was going very slow and I couldn't get past them fast enough. So it makes me feel really frustrated when I remember that. Or it can also be thinking about when did I first start having these anger issues? And it all started with my parents getting divorced. And so maybe coming up with a specific memory or scene from that time period could be another table leg. So again, to recap, a tabletop is the general issue or problem, and the table leg is the emotionally charged specific event that helps keep it in place. And that is what we usually want to address with EFT. Sometimes when we are exploring an issue, we can find that a tabletop is connected to other tabletops. So let's say that the tabletop issue is I find myself procrastinating on the different tasks that I need to do to succeed with my business. And then when I start thinking about what this is all connected to, I find out that I believe I'm not good enough or I don't deserve to be successful. And then again, if we find another tabletop, we still want to find specific events to work on that. So where did I learn that I'm not good enough? Or how do I know it to be true that I don't deserve to be successful? So we usually want to go from the tabletop to some of those specific events table legs. That's it for today. I hope this video was useful and I look forward to seeing you again in one of my next videos.